The United Nations has confirmed that a Fox News host issued an apology after remarks in which he suggested that the international body should be bombed. The comments, which quickly drew global condemnation, highlight once again the fragile relationship between populist media rhetoric in the United States and the credibility of international institutions tasked with maintaining peace and order. According to UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric, the Fox News personality privately reached out to acknowledge that the statement was inappropriate. "We welcome the apology," Dujarric said in a press briefing. "Words have consequences, especially when they involve institutions like the United Nations, which represents nearly every country in the world. Advocating violence against an international body is unacceptable." The controversy began earlier this week during a Fox News broadcast in which the host, frustrated by recent UN criticism of U.S. foreign policy, rhetorically suggested that the headquarters in New York should be bombed. Though he later attempted to frame the remarks as sarcasm, the language immediately sparked outrage not only from UN officials but also from diplomats, analysts, and advocacy groups. Social media amplified the backlash, with commentators warning that such rhetoric undermines America's international standing. Diplomats from several countries stressed that violent language, even when made in jest, can escalate tensions at a time when global cooperation is already strained. At a moment when the world faces wars, climate disasters, and economic inequality, the last thing we need is irresponsible commentary calling for destruction of the one institution where all nations can speak, said a European ambassador who asked not to be named. For its part, Fox News has not issued an official corporate apology but acknowledged that the host's comments did not reflect the views of the network. The incident recalls earlier controversies involving Fox News figures whose remarks about immigrants, women, or international allies triggered criticism but rarely led to lasting consequences. Critics argue that the network thrives on provocative statements that energize its audience while fueling distrust in global organizations. The United Nations has often been a target of American conservative media. For decades, right-wing commentators have portrayed the body as inefficient, biased against U.S. interests, or overly influenced by rival powers. Former President Donald Trump himself regularly criticized the UN, at times threatening to withhold funding. Analysts say the Fox News remarks are part of a broader pattern in which nationalist voices frame international cooperation as a threat to sovereignty rather than a platform for diplomacy. Still, the UN insists that it will not be drawn into a rhetorical battle with media figures. Instead, officials emphasized their focus on pressing global crises, from the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East to food insecurity in Africa and climate disasters in Asia. "We do not comment on every insult," Dujarric said. "But when calls for violence are made, we must speak out. The United Nations exists to prevent conflict, not to be a target of it." Advocates for responsible journalism warn that such incidents risk normalizing hostility toward international cooperation. If influential media personalities casually talk about bombing the UN, it erodes public understanding of why the institution exists, said Dr. Elaine Ramirez, a media ethics scholar at Columbia University. In a polarized environment, sarcasm can sound like incitement. The episode underscores a broader challenge for global diplomacy in the digital age, how institutions like the UN can maintain legitimacy in the face of populist skepticism and sensationalist media. While the host's apology may close this particular controversy, the underlying hostility toward international organizations remains potent in American political culture. For now, the UN has accepted the apology and hopes the incident will serve as a reminder of the responsibility public figures carry when speaking about matters of global peace and security. But the tensions between nationalist media rhetoric and international diplomacy are unlikely to disappear anytime soon.